Welcome to Shiloh, or many Americans pronounce it Shiloh. Here in Israel it's pronounced Shiloh. I tell you what, it really is something walking through the streets of this ancient holy city. Man, the significance of this place and being here to experience it. Well, here in Shiloh, is where the tabernacle was for 369 years. The tabernacle, up until that point, was actually a movable tent, and it could be moved from place to place. Once they established this place, it was the place where they built a permanent building, and the tabernacle with the Ark of the Covenant was here for 369 years. Now, Shiloh is located right in the heart, right in the middle of Israel. If you look at it on the map, and it was allotted to the tribe of Ephraim. Today, about 450 families actually live in the modern Shiloh, which is above the Tel Shiloh, which is the ancient Shiloh. What you need to understand is Shiloh existed before Jerusalem. Shiloh was the capital, the holy city, the holy capital of the Israelites back in those days. Jerusalem was just a city down there that people heard of, but it really wasn't anything like it is today. Also, another interesting point about Shiloh is no one really lived here except for the priests and the Levites. So all the Israelites would come to worship God, offer up their sacrifices, and they would go home. So this place wasn't populated by like Jerusalem was, where all the people were there and it was a big capital. It was the holy site, the holy capital of Israelites back in those days, and only the priests and the Levites were actually live here. Now, on the high holidays, there would be close to, has been said, 2 million Israelites filling up these hills around here, and to worship and to offer up their sacrifices, and then they would eat the sacrifices that they had given, all out, just pretty much just camping out in all these beautiful hills. And then after that, they would go home. Now, unlike Jerusalem or other places, when you see this, as you see this place, you can see that it's pretty much untouched. It hasn't been really built up as a modern city like Jerusalem. So this is pretty much what it looked like back when the tabernacle was here and people were coming to worship, where God dwelt in the tabernacle, in the Ark of the Covenant. So this is what it was. This is what it looked like. This is something. This is really something special. So I hope you enjoy this as much as I enjoy giving this to you. Shiloh also dates back to about 3,800 years ago. So this is a very old place after Moses came over with the Israelites from Egypt. Now, in all that time, many different civilizations have populated this place. For example, in 2007, archaeologists here uncovered mosaics from the 4th and 5th century AD. It was a church that was built on the site here during that time, and they found an inscription in mosaics, and the inscription read, "Our Lord Jesus Christ, have pity on Shiloh and all those that inhabit it." Okay, let's talk about the history a little bit of Shiloh. After the Israelites wandered the desert for 40 years after Moses had brought them out of Egypt, they crossed over into the promised land of Israel. Once they were in Israel, for about 14 years, they wandered around Israel and inhabited this land. And they wandered all around the country, the whole country, and settled into the country on different parts of the land. So after those 14 years, all the tribes gathered up right here in Shiloh and divided up the land in between them. In Joshua 18:1, it reads, "And the whole congregation of the children of Israel assembled together at Shiloh and set up the tabernacle of the congregation there. And the land was subdued before them." So it was right here that the lands of Israel was divided up into the 7 tribes of Israel. As we know, this place was destroyed by the Philistines at the end of Eli's life because of the wickedness of his sons. and for what was happening in the nation of Israel at that time. Around the ancient city of Shiloh, there was a very big, impressive, strong wall. It was 26 feet high and 17 feet thick, and it went around the whole 4 acres of the compound of Shiloh. It would have offered protection for the Israelites during times of war and everything else. Now, don't forget, we talked about how this place was not really inhabited by the average Israelite. This place, the actual people who lived here were only the priests and the Levites. So they weren't really fighters. So they needed the protection. In Exodus 26:22, the Bible mentions how the tabernacle was situated in an east-west fashion, orientation. So we can see how this is the spot where probably the tabernacle actually really was. By the way, I'll tell you something very interesting about Shiloh. You can't say this about too many other places here in the country. When the archaeologists were here digging and sifting through, and by the way, they used both dry and wet sifting to make sure not to miss any details. But the actual archaeologists that were here, they were all believers, and they took it very serious about the scriptures and trying to find everything they could to connect it to what we know. In 2018, a young archaeologist that was working on the site, he found something very, very significant, very interesting. On the north side of the site, he found a small, about this size, a small pomegranate made out of, chiseled out of stone. Now, maybe some of you are asking what's so significant about a pomegranate. Pomegranate is pretty significant. It is very significant because of the role that the pomegranate played in the worship inside the tabernacle. In Exodus 28, it talks about the pomegranate. It talks about the high priest's robe, and it says on the hem of the robe, on the ring around the bottom, it had to be placed a bell and then a pomegranate, a bell and then a pomegranate, a bell and then a pomegranate. As we know, the tabernacle with the Ark of the Covenant, this is a place where God dwelt for 369 years. The tabernacle was here. Only the high priests, and only one day a year, the Day of Atonement, which is Yom Kippur for us in Jews, could the high priest actually go in. And even when he did that, they would tie a rope around him and hold that and stay outside, just in case something happened, they could pull him out. Now, we all know the story of Hannah. Hannah, with many tears, offered up her prayers to the Lord. The Bible indicates that she pleaded with God somewhere near the doorposts of the entrance to the tabernacle itself. But where would that exactly have been? So I'm right here at the spot where Hannah would have pleaded with God. Right at the doorpost, it says. And right here where I'm standing, let me show you. It looks like in the stone is where they would have carved out the place for posts, maybe the doorposts. So right here might actually be the spot. It could possibly be. Who knows? No one really knows. Wow. Talk about goosebumps. Now, right here behind me would have been the storehouse. The storehouse is where the Israelites would have come to buy their jars and everything else they need and stuff they needed for the sacrifice, for the worship of our Lord God. And so this right here is actually the stores in the storehouse where everything was, where the merchants would come and sell the goods, and the Israelites would come to buy whatever they needed. Now, a lot of other interesting things happened here. It's not just about 4,000 years ago with the tabernacle. During the early Roman period, the Jewish revolt used this area for hideouts and everything. So they have all these systems that are cut out into the rocks for hiding out and being able to surprise attack. Now, it's pretty dark in here, so I don't know how well you can see. But there's an entire system. And as you saw, I come down those steps. You really hardly could tell if you put anything over top of it. You would never be able to tell anything was here. But once you're inside, you'll see the whole system, how they have it set up in here. As we was talking about earlier, the people who actually lived here were the priests and the Levites. So a lot of the construction, you could see how they prepared themselves for times of danger. Like here, right behind me, this is some of the residential areas, and you can see right there, there's a wall with a that's built for a pocket rolling stone door for locking it, where they had a pin on the other side. They could lock that rolling stone in the middle of those two walls and completely block off the entrance. As well as a lot of oil presses, because we know oil was an essential part of worship. And so you see a lot of what's left of these old olive oil presses here around here. There's quite a few of them, by the way. I don't know if you can see it, but in the mosaics here, there's a Mogan David right here inside the mosaics. And all over this place are just absolutely beautiful mosaics that are still preserved, that you can still see. It is absolutely beautiful sight. I'm telling you guys, you need to come out here to Israel. This is home. Come on home. As you can see right behind me, there's still a whole large section of this place that they have completely fenced off and gridded out. You can see the grids, the squares, the perfect squares, where archaeologists are still digging and finding more and more new things. I mean, this is an amazing place. Just the significance of it and what we're going to find in the future here, it's just amazing. Right behind me, right here, is the church I was talking to you about that was built in 4th or 5th century AD, where they already, at that time, already understood the significance of this place when they built a church here. Those mosaics I was talking about, now you could see, are the ones that were found here by the believers in 4th and 5th century AD. In the middle of this wonderful place, this amazing and spiritually significant place, are picnic tables. You can sit down when you come and visit and actually have a little meal and contemplate where you're at. So I think I'll sit here for a while, and why don't you come and join me? In the meantime, it sure was a blessing to make this video for you guys, and I can't wait to make the next one. We got some bad weather coming. So I don't know next week if I'll be able to put something together, but I'll do my best. So until then, God bless.
TGR News, broadcasting from the State of Israel.
Okay, welcome back to TGR News.
Shalom, shalom.
Well, this weather's crazy, huh?
Oh, I'm telling you, it's so cold.
Yeah, it seems very strange. The whole northern hemisphere seems to be under a snowstorm. It usually doesn't happen like that.
No, it's very unusual.
Well, I'll tell you what has happened here in Israel lately. You know, we're ahead of the crowd when it comes to vaccinating people. Apparently, we've vaccinated 3.5 million people. And so they did the largest medical trial, because Israel's in a unique position where they could get the information. I can see the kids in the background playing games. So to take this medical trial, and apparently they come up with these numbers. It's 94% effective, and out of the 6% that is not effective, the 92% of that is it at least makes it where they don't have to go to the hospital.
Yeah, and I see where on the news, some of the news that they come across in English, where they're wanting to do trials with pregnant women because of, you know, but I'm not sure, you know, that's scary.
Yeah, that's scary.
When you're talking about a fetus.
There was a baby here in Israel that just recently that was a pregnant woman who got sick with corona, and her baby died in her room.
Yes, I saw that. It was so sad, so sad.
Well, obviously Israel's also pushing really hard to get the vaccine to everyone, and that's part of why all this stuff is on the news, because they want to try to get everyone to take the vaccine so that they can open up the economy, right?
Yes.
Anyway, but also up until now, it's only right now, since the lockdown is over, it's only about 30% of the kids are back in school. You know, 70% of kids are still out of school.
Yeah, I know. And then, of course, now they use the excuse as the weather, which, of course, with the snow and the ice on the roads, and we're in the mountain area, you know, you can understand that.
Yeah, Israel's not set up for cold weather.
No, it sure isn't.
Yeah.
Maybe at Mount Hermon.
Only. Yeah. There's also a little IDF unit there, very small unit, and they're trained for snow and on skis and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Well, most Israelis aren't used to the weather like this.
No.
Well, one thing strange in politics lately is is that all the politicians, their campaigns seem to be only centered around whether or not Bibi should be the prime minister. As far as I remember, when a politician campaigns, he should be talking about what he stands for, what he wants to do, what he doesn't want to do. You know?
Yeah, or at least fussing about the other people. You know?
Exactly. I'll badmouthing someone else.
Right.
Well, they're doing that a bit to Bibi, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And hey, Eva, you want to say something? The latest polls actually show that Bibi is actually falling just a little bit.
Yeah, I think people are getting tired of a lot of stuff that's going on.
Yeah, they are. So, but we'll see. But it went from 33 to about 29, so it wasn't a big fall. One thing though, the ex-president of Iran, Iran is just trying to throw a bone to Biden so that he could have an excuse to say that it's okay to give Iran the nuclear,
go back to the deals
and stuff like that. So the ex-president of Iran just came out with the best he could, I guess, and he said, "Well, we don't actually have to wipe Israel off the map."
No, don't actually have to.
Well, Bibi was trying to give everyone like a stimulus package, like everyone some money because of all the heartaches that we're going through during the corona and the economy going down. But Gantz stopped it because he thought that it was Bibi trying to buy the election and get his votes that way.
Yeah, well, politicians are sneaky that way.
Yeah, it could be and it could not be, but I still think it was bad for Benny Gantz to stop people from getting money in the time they need it.
Yeah, people need the money, and it needs to go to the people that need it, not just everybody.
Yeah, well, yeah, let people get the money and then let them decide if it was a trickery or not. But right now they need the money.
That's for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, but strange thing happened was a couple days ago, is an Israeli woman had left Israel somehow through one of our northern borders. They haven't figured that out yet, but they will soon. And as soon as they do, we'll figure it out. And but anyway, and she was in Syria, this Israeli woman, and then so Syria called Israel up and said, "Oh, we have this Israeli woman. Maybe we should figure out how to get her back to you." So Putin got involved, which obviously shows how involved he is and who's in power here.
Yeah.
With our enemies.
Yeah.
And to broker the deal with Syrian leaders and himself. And at the beginning, they decided Putin was part of this. They decided they want a few terrorists that we had, right?
Yeah.
One of the terrorists that they wanted actually decided told the Red Cross he'd rather stay in the Israeli jail than go home to Syria. That sounds good, but it means we need to be a little bit tougher, maybe a little bit meaner to him, When your terrorist would rather be in jail. That don't sound good.
It sounds like your jail's pretty good.
Yeah. But anyway, so Israel ended up making a deal for this lady for a couple of Syrian shepherds that they found too close around the border. And so we didn't have to give up any terrorists, but we'll get her back.
Yeah. Wonder though how she wandered over there.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll figure all that out. Another thing that's interesting is apparently the same woman, like 3 different times, tried to go, and the IDF caught her and brought her back.
Well, maybe she wants over there.
Yeah, well, obviously we don't have all the information, but it sounds like maybe we shouldn't be making no deals and just let her stay there.
Yeah.
I don't know, but we don't know how.
We don't know all the information,
yeah,
so
we'll
you
can't
make assumptions.
Yeah. Well, that was it for this week. I hope you enjoyed it.
Shabbat shalom.
See you next week.
Bye bye.